Bedford County Public Schools instruction team, and we just wanted to take a moment to introduce ourselves. I'm DeLong-Moorefield. I'm the supervisor of History, Fine Arts, World Languages, and Title III.
I'm Audrey Bayer, and I'm the supervisor of Mathematics and Gifting.
I'm Diane Eisenhower. I'm the supervisor of Literacy and Title I.
I'm Allison Kapler, and I'm the supervisor of Science and Computer Science.
I'm Trevor Haas, supervisor of CTE and Workplace Readiness.
You'll see us in your schools throughout the year. Know that if you need anything, please reach out to us. We're super excited for a fantastic year.
The first instructional update that we're going to provide you with has to do with pacing guides. Pacing guides for Bedford County can be found not only in your Canvas collaborative courses, but also on the division website. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our Bedford County Public Schools website. If you go to the Bedford County Public Schools website and you go to Areas of Support across the top, the fourth topic down is instruction. So we're going to look at what the instruction page actually looks like today. So if you look at the instruction page, you will find links to the strategic framework, Bedford County's program of studies, which might be important if you're a high school teacher or guidance counselor, but you'll also see a link to Teacher Direct. Teacher Direct is a newsletter provided by the Virginia Department of Education to provide instructional updates to not just division level supervisors, but also to classroom teachers. So you can get email notifications of a newsletter that's either emailed to you weekly or bi-weekly with those current content, information, and updates. If you have not signed up for Teacher Direct, we highly encourage you to go to the division website and click on the Teacher Direct link and sign up for those email newsletters to come directly to you. The other thing that you will find on the instruction page are little buttons at the bottom for all of our core content and additional programs such as Title III, World Languages, Preschool, Gifted, Career and Technical Education. So if you're looking for a content area within Bedford County, you can go to their specific page. For today's updates on pacing guides, we're going to specifically look at math, but even if you're not a math teacher, it will still apply to you. So we're going to go to the mathematics page first. On the mathematics page, you'll see that you'll find important information such as the current math standards and learning and resources from the VDOE, but you'll also see that we have our Bedford County math pacing guides and resources linked here. We're going to be looking at a new updated pacing guide for third grade. All of the core contents such as math, social studies, science, and English have updated their pacing guides, and they are linked onto the Bedford County website. When you go to the third grade mathematics pacing guide, you will see that pacing guides look a little bit different than they have in the past. No longer are you going to see just a list of standards, but you might see things grouped by instructional content, by units, by modules. They're going to look very similar no matter what subject you're looking at. However, there may be some slight differences between the two. When you're looking at your pacing guide, the most important thing to notice is what core content or instructional content is being offered or should be taught each 9 weeks, and how long within that 9 weeks we think you should be spending on that topic. Please make sure that you're paying attention to these pacing guidelines and that you're trying to stay as best as you can with the needs of your students within these pacing frameworks.
Hey everyone, I'm going to talk to you about our Canvas collaborative courses. If you were with us in Bedford County last year, then this should be something that is familiar to you, though the design looks a little different. In the presentation on your next slide, you're going to see information about signing up through a Google form. That Google form is going to give us the data that we need to enroll you in the proper Canvas course, and you will get an invite for the appropriate course. And if you're in elementary school, that may mean that you get more than one course invite. Just a reminder that principals and assistant principals are welcome to join as well, especially in the high school if you're more content specific, or in the middle school. These Canvas collaborative pages should be kind of one-stop shopping for you because it has links to a lot of the important things that we talked about in the previous slides. I'm going to switch over to one of our Canvas courses so you can get a little idea of a couple of things I just want to highlight for you. So as you're looking here at the student view, this is the social studies resources page. And once you're on this page, you can find, links to all kinds of things for social studies, alternative assessments. This is a great place to start. And of course, we have by grade level or by content specific subject as you get into the secondary level. links that will take you to curriculum pacing guides, all of those resources as well. So many of those things were mentioned by other members of the instruction team. This is kind of one place that you can go to get that information. You want to also make sure that you utilize your announcements. We post so many things through the announcements. We only try to post things, kind of once a week. We don't want to overwhelm you, but this is our first point of contact. It's a great way to reach out to everyone. You want to make sure that your email settings, so on your settings in Canvas, you can make sure that your emails are sending out announcements, and you could choose for which classes, because maybe some of you are enrolled as teachers in other courses and you don't want all those announcements, but you definitely want to get the instruction team announcements. And it's an expectation that you would be checking this for any kind of important announcements that might be coming your way. Your ITCs can also help you with the settings if you're having any trouble making sure that you're getting all of the announcements that you need.
The next thing that we wanted to be sure you're aware of is the Instruction Team Informational Updates document. This document is updated every Tuesday by noon with LTPs that have been released for that week. This is something that you should save the link to and monitor regularly. If you scroll down, you'll see a table of contents, and then you'll see links to the updates for that week. And what you can do is click on the link and then jump down to the bookmark, and it will give you a summary of the LTP and then provide more information. After that week has passed, these items will be placed below in their proper category so that you can always get back to find them. And then, of course, at the bottom of this document will be a running list of the instruction team updates. And also, we wanted to be sure that you are aware that you can do Control F and search for a specific topic or category, and then you can find information that way all within this document. We also add an announcement to the Canvas collaborative pages that will let you know when this update has taken place each week so that you remember to come back and check it. We would recommend that you star it or save the link to your bookmarks so that you remember to come back here regularly.
All right, so I wanted to take a minute to share the 2022-2023 division assessment schedule with everyone. I'm going to click on that and show you how that's formatted and what you can see on there for your information. So the assessment schedule is broken down by 9 weeks and by grade level. If you look, you'll see that there is the name of the assessment and then the dates that the assessment is due. Some assessments are listed by a range of dates because of the way that the test is set up, such as PALS and VKRP or IXL diagnostic, and some have an end date by which the assessment should be completed. We also have SOL growth assessments listed. We do not have dates for those yet, but we will be including those as soon as they are available to us. And remember, the SOL growth assessments this year are assessing current year standards, not last year standards. So current year standards. It is a true growth assessment this year in the fall. We also have end of course pre-SOL benchmarks that will take place in the third or fourth quarter, depending on the course that you teach and when you are finished teaching all of your content. And that's designated here in the schedule that you will give that assessment after all content is taught. So please keep that in mind, that is a flexible time depending on what course you're teaching and when you are finished with your content and your students are ready to take that end of course pre-SOL in order for you to see what they know, what they need to work on or need support with in order to be prepared for that SOL test. We also have all our alternative assessments listed and linked here in this schedule. We have combined some of our alternative assessments this year in order to lighten the load for teachers and students and to give that cross-curricular experience and integrate some of those skills and topics from grade level subject areas. So we have science and social studies, cross-curricular activities. We have social studies and writing. So it not only lessens the load, but it also gives them a chance to see how those topics relate to one another and how we can integrate the skills from one subject area to the other. All right, so if you have any questions about this schedule or any of the information that is included, please let us know and we'll help you as best we can. Elementary English Language Arts Updates and Information. First of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about reading instruction indicators and daily literacy indicators. We want to make sure that we are providing strong Tier 1 instruction, and our whole group instruction should include the key components of literacy. And for elementary, those are oral language, phonological awareness, including phonemic awareness, which we have Hegarty resources for, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and writing. And we want to make sure that these skills are taught as an integrated set and not in isolation. We want our students to read. We want our students to talk about what they've read, have conversations about what they've read. We want students to write about what they've read. We want students to learn vocabulary from what they've read. We want to see those connections within our daily literacy lessons. So students are able to see the connections and students are able to learn and maximize their learning time. We also want to see small group differentiated instruction, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. And we definitely want to have a time where students can apply their knowledge of concepts. The application of concepts can be done through independent work, partner work, and literacy stations, but we want students to have the opportunity to apply the knowledge of the concepts that they have learned. If they can apply the concepts, then we as teachers have the information we need to be able to move forward in our lesson. They are providing us feedback, and then we can provide them feedback in order to tailor our lesson the next day, or in order to create small groups or provide interventions. So the application of concepts is a very important piece of the daily literacy lesson, and we want to make sure we are providing students with that opportunity. And for daily small groups, we want to make sure these groups are skill-based and that they are managed by the classroom teacher and other adults as possible. Maybe your reading specialist, your special education teacher, a paraprofessional, whatever adults are available. But we also want to make sure that we have independent stations that students are able to work at, but we also make sure that we have provided instruction for expectations at those independent stations. So we have explicitly taught routines and procedures before we send students into small groups, just assuming that they will know what to do, how to behave, what the expectations are, where to put things, where to get things. We want to make sure those are explicitly taught before we just send them into small groups. We want to make sure we're targeting the skills that the students need, and that we are tiering the interventions to meet the student needs, not necessarily tiering our students. A lot of times we would say, okay, for this 9 weeks, this is my Tier 1 group, this is my Tier 2 group, this is my Tier 3 group. And that does not make a lot of sense if you have a student who, for a particular concept or skill, does not need to be in a Tier 3 group. So we need to base our grouping and our tiered intervention based on the student needs, not based on what we think as far as, oh, this is a lower performing student. They may perform low on a certain skill or concept, but they may perform better on another one. So they don't always need to be in that Tier 3 group. So keeping that in mind, it's a little bit of a mindset shift to say, I can't just set up 3 groups and go with that for 9 weeks or for 6 weeks or however long. I need to make sure that I am adjusting those groups and being flexible based on the skills or based on the concepts, and I'm tiering the interventions based on the needs of the students. So I know this group of students may need these interventions based on this skill or based on the feedback or based on whatever evidence that I have of their performance. But they may not necessarily need that for every single task or skill or concept. So just keeping that in mind as we move forward with our planned instruction for small groups. So what resources do we have? We have the Houghton Mifflin textbook, the digital textbook again this year for K through 5. It's called Into Reading. We have the growth measure and other resource, and all of that can be accessed through Clever. There's also the Teacher's Corner, which has live sessions and recorded webinars to support with access to the textbook and with different ideas for lesson planning, and anything you need would be available there in that Teacher's Corner. We have VDOE resources. I highly suggest everyone signs up for Teacher Direct. There are English and reading curriculum frameworks, comprehensive literacy plans, blueprints, all of that available on the VDOE website. We also have pacing guides for English K through 5 available on our website. And I want to show you they are on the Literacy and English Language Arts page. If you just scroll down just a tad bit, they're right there, K through 5 pacing. And then we also have an aligned resource document created by our friends at Newsela, who made a standards-based document that aligns the content of Newsela with our grade level standards, and it provides different activities that you could do with students, possibly in small groups, research projects, communication ideas, supports with word meanings, origins, all of these neat things that are different, and we have access to that through Clever as well. And that is a wonderful resource that we have used this last year much more than in the past. So hopefully that is something that you can use and find helpful. Secondary English Language Arts updates and information. So for our secondary English resources, with the adoption of our new textbook this year, which I am super excited about, we did adapt our pacing guides. And so I wanted to show everyone our new pacing guide. And I'll show you 6th grade, and it is still a work in progress, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. At the top, you will have the VDOE English Language Arts documents link. So to the VDOE website, you will have the link to the 22-23 BCPS assessment schedule, and you'll also have a link to the SOL growth assessment blueprints. And then each 9 weeks is broken down by the standard of learning that is presented, with communication, reading, writing, research, assessments. So what assessments are given in SAVIS, and then also what unit resources are available through SAVIS. And we have created a unit guide. So once you click the link in the At a Glance Pacing Guide, this will take you to the unit overview guide, which lists all 5 units. 6th grade has 5 units. It lists all 5 units, the purpose of the unit, the suggested pacing, the unit goals. It has a link to the ELA 6th grade essential knowledge and skills through the curriculum framework. And then it also has a link to the daily planning guide for each unit. The daily planning guide for each unit has the instructional model, which is color-coded. Green is whole class learning, yellow is assessments, light blue is small group learning, and dark blue is independent learning. It has the unit overview, the unit goals, the selections and media that are going to be used, whole class learning, peer learning, independent learning, the assessments, and then the reflection. And then at the bottom of each page is a key that shows where you would find this resource or what type of resource it is. So SE, of course, is student edition, TE is teacher edition, and RP is reteach and practice. And then, of course, you can see the icons here that you'll see throughout the unit guide that show you whether it's an audio file, video file, if it's downloadable, printable, online assessment, all of those things. So the unit guide is broken up into daily instruction. So you'll see on day 1, the student edition, the students will access pages 2 through 5. Here are the unit goals. There's a video for the unit goals. There's a home connection letter. There's academic vocabulary listed there. There's standards listed there. And there's always an ELL support at the bottom of each day to show you how you can support your students that may be English learners. So each day will have the different components of the lesson, and we'll show you what resources you need, and we'll show you what standards are covered. And that will be for every day all the way through to day 36, which is the last day. And you will have everything you need to carry out each one of the lessons for the entire unit. And each unit is broken down by unit. So you'll just have unit 1 on this planning guide, and you'll just have unit 2 on the other planning guide, so it's not all together. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. Also, we have our DOE resources, Teacher Direct, our English curriculum frameworks, our literacy instructional plans that are all on the DOE website. And we also have our Newsela aligned resource document that has different resources I want to show you that we shared last year that gives aligned resources for reading skills, for text structure, drawing conclusions, word choice, that's aligned specifically to our standards, which is a very helpful, useful tool for different types of activities through Newsela. And finally, with the adoption of our Savas textbook, which I'm super excited about, we have the resources at our fingertips, not only digitally, but also through our student editions and our teacher editions. We are expecting that all teachers will utilize this as their primary resource for English curriculum for all classes. We will have access to Savas Realize through Canvas. That's for students and teachers. Savas will also have a beginning, middle, and end of year assessment. You will have, again, a teacher's edition, a Virginia lesson planning guide, student edition class sets. Some schools opted for a consumable set. So if your school did that, you'll have student consumables, but most schools opted for student edition class sets. And then, of course, you will have digital teacher and student accounts. And lastly, alternate assessments. So we have 5th grade writing for alternate assessments. Nothing has changed with that. We are going to be doing the same prompts that we did last year. Everything will be submitted through the Google Drive, and permission will be given to you. And we will follow the holistic scoring rubric that we followed last year. For 9th grade writing, all the prompts are located in the shared folder. We will be doing blind scoring with the school score sheets that was set up through the ITCs. So if you're not sure about that, check with your ITC or your department chair. Understand scoring training will be required to be a scorer, and the prompt will be persuasive just as it was last year. And then 10th grade will be starting with a writing prompt this year that they have not done before. So this is new this year. The prompts and everything were created by teachers a couple of years ago, but this will be our first year implementing it in 10th grade. But everything is located in the shared folder. We'll also be doing blind scoring, so see your ITC or your department chair if you have any questions. 10th grade teachers will also be participating in Understand Scoring. Some of you all did that last year. Actually, most everybody did. But if you did not, you'll participate in that this year. It is an analytical writing prompt. And next year, 11th graders will be completing the argumentative piece. And we will have the 3 pieces to show the growth to submit for the locally verified credit. So if you have any questions about that, reach out to me or your department chair, and we will make sure that we answer your questions as soon as we can. All right, thank you so much.
Today we're going to look at some elementary math updates. The very first update that we're going to look at is our pacing guides. Our pacing guides have all changed a little bit. In the past, you would have seen just a standard listed out in words along with a suggested time frame. So we've kind of tried to change that a little bit, and we've grouped things by instructional content now instead of just listing all of the standards. So we've kind of tried to put them in units, and you'll see that over here on the left. We've still left what strand it comes from within your standards, what the actual standard is and the bullet, and then how long you should be spending on that. All mathematics pacing guides have changed, even if it's just slightly. So you need to take a very good hard look at these. Pacing guides can be found on the division website, or they may be found linked within your Canvas collaborative class for math. So looking at this, you'll see some hyperlinks on the left-hand side under instructional content. Those hyperlinks are unit guides, so we've moved all of our curriculum guides over to unit guides, and they're linked here for you. You'll notice that they're only linked for the first 9 weeks. That is because we are developing these unit guides as we progress throughout the year. If you have resources for an upcoming unit that you think might be worthwhile adding, or you have resources for a unit that you've already taught for the year, please reach out to me by email. My email is Bowyer, Bowyer, at bedford.k12.va.us. And I would be happy to take a look at those resources before deciding on whether or not they should be linked. The next thing we're going to look at are the unit guides. These are the hyperlinks that are on your pacing guide. The unit guides used to be called curriculum guides, and they were done by standard by bullet. I've combined them now into one document so that if you are teaching a unit for that one document and it covers more than one standard or more than one bullet, all of your resources are in one page. So that's one of the biggest differences. The second biggest difference is instead of just linking to the DOE website where you could download the curriculum framework, I've actually pulled the curriculum framework, the understanding the standard, and the essential knowledge and skills, and I put it right here on this document so that when you are going to lesson plan and you need to unpack, all of that information is linked right here within your curriculum guide or your unit guide. You'll notice that I've even bolded all of the verbs that you might need to see under the essential knowledge and skills for when you go to unpack. We're going to take a moment to take an in-depth look at the rest of this unit guide. So we're going to pull up the first one for kindergarten, and it is patterns or plain figures, location and orientation. And like I said, we have all the information from the curriculum framework. You'll also notice the next section has key vocabulary. I've linked the word wall cards from the VDOE for each grade level here. In addition, if a word is bolded, they do have a card that you can use for your word walls from this VDOE link. The next section is instructional resources, and under our instructional resources, we have several things. The first thing is any resource that we may get from the VDOE. That could be lesson plans that have already been written. If there's a co-teaching lesson plan that goes along with this unit, it would be linked there. If there were rich mathematical tasks, it would also be linked in this section. So that's the very first instructional resource you'll see. The second instructional resource you'll see is our textbook resources. These are our adopted textbooks. We have Envision 2.0 for elementary, and those have been changed a little bit. We're going to have some more professional development on that, hopefully at the start of this year, where you can kind of see what is available to you online. Envision 2.0 used to be owned by Pearson. It is now owned by Savas. And so with that comes a new way for you to access that, which is why we're going to have some professional development on how you can get to these resources. But your Envision 2.0 resources are now embedded into Canvas. And so you and your students can get to them from there. The other thing that you'll notice that I've added with our Envision 2.0 resources is instead of just listing the chapter and the topic, I've also tried to give you a little bit of some information about that section, like the title of that section. So for example, instead of just telling you need to look in 12-1, you now know that 12-1 is on 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional shapes, just to kind of give you a little bit more information about what you're going to find if you were to look for those resources within your textbook. The next thing that you're going to see past Envision is the unplugged resources and activities. These are resources and activities that do not have to do with technology. They're not on every unit. Every unit doesn't have necessarily an activity here, but if you have any unplugged resources that you're using throughout the school year that are not Teachers Pay Teachers, I can't link Teachers Pay Teachers because of copyright to our unit guides, but if you have any other resources that you might want to have linked for unplugged, I would be happy if you would share those with me. The next section are online resources and activities. I've tried to limit those to the paid versions from the division because all schools have those. So you'll see iExcel or BrainPop. If you're in an upper grade, you may also see Desmos activities linked here under these online resources. The next part inside of instructional resources is Children's Lit. These books are great for introducing a topic and introducing a unit. They're also great so that you can link math and language arts. So if you want, take a moment to have some conversations with your librarian and see if you have any of these children's lit books that connect so that you can incorporate those into your lessons. The last thing under instructional resources that you'll see is you'll see a list of manipulatives. We should be seeing manipulatives used so that students can gain a conceptual understanding of numbers. So please take a moment to look and see what manipulatives you might need before you start a lesson or a unit. If you are struggling finding any of these resources or these manipulatives, please reach out to me and I'll see what I can do to help you. The last thing on the unit guides that you're going to find are the assessment resources. Last year we did some PD on the just-in-time quick checks from the VDOE. They're all linked over here on the left. Remember that these just-in-time quick checks are not meant to be graded or not meant to be put in the grade book. They're not meant to be summative assessments. They're quick, formative 2 to 3 questions just so that you can gain a quick snapshot of what a student's understanding is about a particular piece of content. The other thing that you're going to see linked here are some exemplar links. Remember that exemplars are problem-solving tasks that students may do. These are copyrighted materials that we purchase, so you can't just blanket post these exemplar links out on the website, so keep that in mind. The last thing that we're going to look at is we're going to take a look at our number sense routines. Now, these are new. They're on every pacing guide at the beginning of the 9 weeks. Number sense routines are meant to be daily routines that you do. They're not meant to be taught as a single unit. They're not meant to be done every now and again, maybe once a month. They're meant to be daily routines. Now, if you are in K through 3, you may want to combine these number sense routines with your calendar time. So at the end of your number sense routines document, you will see that I've also added, if you're in K through 3, I've also added some calendar resources from the VDOE math instructional plans. We want you to use these routines as starters, transitions, closures. You're not meant to spend more than 5 to 10 minutes on them. The purpose of having these daily is so that we can help our students develop number sense. They need to make connections. They need to build vocabulary. We want them to become critical thinkers and problem solvers. So all of the routines listed are high yield routines to get students thinking and talking about mathematics. The way you'll see this document set up is the routine is listed on the left and a description is listed on the right. We are not telling you which routines you have to do. We're not telling you what routine to do on what day. This is just a list of routines and resources that you can use so that when we come to see your classroom or when you're building up how you're setting up your block, these are the resources you can use to determine what you're going to do for your number sense routine. So we're going to take a look at this number sense routines for kindergarten. If you look, you'll see that the routine itself is hyperlinked. These are hyperlinked to a Google slideshow that may have routines already set up. It's not got more than like 3, 4, maybe 5 daily routines already set up. So it's not an exhaustive list of already pre-made activities that's going to last you the whole 180 days, but it's enough to get you started. Over on the right, you'll see a description of the routine and what you need to do. Some of the routines, almost all of them, may also have a video link. That video link will show you another teacher doing the routine with her students in a classroom. Those are important to watch just so that you can get a sense or a feel of how they should look and what kind of questions that you should be asking so that students are talking. We would like for us to be able to see this as we come around. So we are looking for this to be a daily thing, but not more than 5 to 10 minutes. If you have questions or you're not sure where to begin with adding number sense routines to your daily block, please reach out to me so that I can help you. The last thing we're going to look at are the best practices that I want to promote for elementary. There are 3 things that I think that as we go around and we're looking in classes and we're visiting and your principals are coming to do evaluations, these are things that we should be seeing. We should be seeing small groups. With COVID, we got away from doing small groups just because we were trying to figure out who we could group together and try and minimize contact. We're not in that space anymore, so we should really be seeing small group instruction at some time during your math block. That small group instruction should be based on some sort of data. You should be quickly assessing a student's understanding, and you should keep those groups fluid so that you can move kids in and out of them. The next best practice or the next thing that we should see is the use of manipulatives. Please, please, please try and remember the CRA model. If you're not sure what that is, it's conceptual, representational, abstract. So please start with manipulatives so that students gain that conceptual understanding and they start to build those number sense skills that we're seeing are lacking. And then move to a representational model or drawings before you start to give them the abstract problem. The last thing that we think should be best practice that we should see as we're coming around is discourse. Allow for your students to talk. Engage in talking in mathematics. Students should be able to explain their thinking so that they can gain reasoning skills. Think about what routines and what rules you're going to set up in your classroom in order to promote that safe learning environment so that students are comfortable sharing with each other. It's not always about who's right or wrong. It's about understanding and your thinking and being able to justify and reason. If you have any questions or you need any support throughout the year, I'm here for you. Please reach out. For the secondary math updates today, the first thing that we're going to look at is pacing guides. Pacing guides have been redone. There is a new order and new pacing timing for almost every single grade level or subject content. So you need to make sure that you are accessing those and that you're looking to see what order we're supposed to be teaching things in and how long we're supposed to be spending on them. They are accessible in Canvas in the BCPS Math Collaborative course. They're also accessible on the division website. The next thing that we're going to talk about that's new there are unit guides linked underneath. These pacing guides look a lot different than what we've had in the past. In the past, we've just typically had the whole standard written out and then a suggested timeline next to it. Instead, this year, we've tried with our pacing guides to kind of group those into units. So you will see that the new pacing guides have a unit over here, and then underneath each unit is a hyperlinked unit guide. You'll notice that the hyperlinks only appear for first 9 weeks. That's because these are a work in progress and we're developing over the school year. So if you see any activities or resources that you think might be beneficial to units and unit guides that you've already done or ones that are upcoming, please email those to me at Bowyer, BOWYER, at bedford.k12.va.us, and I'll be happy to take a look at those and determine whether or not we should put them on there. Just remember that we cannot hyperlink any activities or resources from Teachers Pay Teachers because of copyright. All right, so the unit guides will be the next thing that we look at. This is an example of a 6th grade unit guide. The unit guides up to this point have only been done by standard, by bullet, and now we are grouping everything together. So before, if you were teaching a module or a unit that required several standards or several bullets of a standard to be taught together, you would have separate documents that you would have to go to find the curriculum resources for those. We've combined all of that into one unit guide now. So for the purposes of this, we're going to exit the slideshow for just a minute, and I'm going to take you through the pieces of an actual unit guide. The very first thing you're going to find is the actual standard, the suggested pacing that's on the pacing guide, and then you'll notice that instead of linking a website to the VDOE link, we have actually embedded all of the curriculum framework that you would need if you are planning an assessment or you're actually just planning a lesson and you need to unpack the standard. All of that information can now be found within the unit guide. So we've put all of the understanding the standard on the left and all of the essential knowledge and skills on the right. I've also bolded or highlighted all of the verbs that you may need when you're unpacking. The next thing that you're going to find in this, right underneath the standard and the curriculum framework information, is key vocabulary. This is key vocabulary that you may need to see for your word walls. The word wall cards that are already provided from the VDOE are hyperlinked here for the PDF version of them. Anything in bold actually has a card from the VDOE that you can use. The next section is instructional resources, and we've divided the instructional resources in a little bit of some different ways. So the first way is all of the VDOE lesson plans, whether they are regular lesson plans, whether they are co-teaching lesson plans, if they're algebra readiness plans or rich mathematical tasks, they're all listed right here under the very first instructional resource. The second instructional resource that you'll see is the Envision 2.0. Those are our textbook resources. This is our adopted textbook that we are in this textbook adoption for several more years. Rather than just listing topic 3 or chapter 3-1, I've actually added the titles or description of those chapters or those sections so that you know exactly what you're looking for when you go into that. There will be additional professional development, a video that you can watch today as well that will show you how to find all of your textbook resources so that you can see what we have. The next thing would be any unplugged resources or activities, and these are activities that wouldn't necessarily need a computer. These are lacking, I feel like, in every unit guide, and I just pulled these from the old ones. So if you have any unplugged resources that do not involve technology that you're using in your classrooms or any activities, please send those to me. The online resources and activities, I am linking any of the online resources that the division pays for example, iExcel or BrainPop Junior. If you are in a grade level where there might be some Desmos activities that the VDOE has already linked to a particular standard, those will also be found underneath the online resources. The last piece of the instructional resources that you will find are the manipulatives. Manipulatives aren't used very often in secondary classrooms, or at least as often as they should be. Please do not forget that it's important for students to gain some conceptual knowledge so that they build that number sense, so that they have that strong foundation for algebra as we move forward. The last section of your unit guide are the assessment resources. The assessment resources will be linked at the bottom, and you will see just-in-time quick checks or any algebra readiness formative assessments. Remember that we had professional development on the just-in-time quick checks last year. These are not meant to be put in the grade book. They are not summative assessments. They are quick 2 to 3 question quick checks so that you can gain some actual understanding about misconceptions and what your students' understanding is about a particular topic. The other thing that you're going to find underneath assessment resources are our exemplar links. Exemplars are problem-solving tasks that you can have students do that have to do with the unit that you are on. These are copyrighted materials, so that is why the unit guides are only accessible through your Bedford County web address. Please make sure that you are not sharing these out in the open since they are copyrighted materials. As you go through the year, if you have any questions or concerns or you need any support, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I hope you have a great year.
Welcome to a great school year. Excited what this year is going to bring, and I'm here to talk a little bit about your social studies updates that we have. Alternative assessments is our first topic. Well, I think most of us will be excited to know that first grade and second grade that we have dropped the required assessments for first and second grade. They're still available if you would like to do them, but you will not be required to submit or turn them in. As with last year, we are requiring one assessment minimum be a common assessment. That way we can compare apples to apples across with our students across the division. We have, though, tried to do cross-curricular where we can to make it easier and to have kind of less assessments. So, for example, in third grade, they'll be completing 2 assessments for social studies, but one of them is cross-curricular with science. So last year where you did 4, 2 with social studies, 2 with science, you're only doing 3. You have your choice one for social studies, your choice one for science, and then one that's cross-curricular. For 5th grade, we're staying with 3 assessments. One is cross-curricular with English related to our 5 Presidents SOL, and you will have a choice activity. The English cross-curricular is required, as well as the end-of-course multiple-choice assessment, which will be in Mastery Connect. 6th grade, we'll also have a cross-curricular with English, which will relate to the required D-Day field trip, and also the end-of-course multiple-choice assessment in Mastery Connect, and then your choice on the other. 9th grade is going to complete 3. The choice, the required will remain the exploration project, and then of course the end of course multiple choice assessment. 11th grade, the required one will again be the quarter 1 American Revolution. You'll have your choice and then the end of course multiple choice assessment. And then 12th grade, the naturalization or citizenship test, which is required by the state, will be reporting those scores as well. Your scores and samples will be reported to the same place, same thing we did last year. You're going to have a shared drive. So when you're in Google, there's My Drive and then there's Shared Drive. The quickest way to get to this if you don't have it starred is to actually go to our collaborative Canvas page. There is a tag right up at the top that says alternative assessments. It takes you right to the module. Within the alternative assessments module, there is a little link that says where do I upload my student samples, and if you click on that, it takes you straight to your school folder. In your school folder, there should be a folder with your name on it and your specific subject or grade level. Then there should be a spreadsheet. The Google Sheet is where you're going to put your scores, and then your folder is where you're going to put your samples. There are directions for labeling them on the Alternative Assessment website and also on the Collaborative Canvas course. We are very likely to, and we expect to have a desk check by the Department of Education in the spring. They'll be coming and looking at all of our assessments, our plan, and samples, and they'll be looking at could potentially be a couple of years. So that's important to remember that this actually is required by the Department of Education. If you look at the list, these are classes that used to have an SOL test. Clearly, we don't have the courses that do have SOL tests on there. Virginia Studies in 4th grade, Civics in 7th grade, and World History 1 in 8th grade. And that's because they have a required SOL test. So these are the ones that we're doing in courses that used to have an SOL test. And we're adding 12th grade onto our list, just having the citizenship test. Please remember that the expectation is that you upload your samples and your scores both within 2 weeks of finishing your assessment. Remember, if you need any help grading or you want an extra body when you're in there going through these projects, please remember that I am more than happy and love to come out and work with the students. We're also worked on getting student-friendly rubrics for all of our classes, and that should help, maybe explain and ease a little bit of that because this is a state-designed rubric. And it is up to you how you decide to grade these. I would caution you to be consistent across your school. In the past, there's kind of been the idea that we don't. Some schools didn't give grades for alternative assessments, as this is used as just a measurement, and that, of course, is something that you can discuss within your school, or I'm happy to come and discuss with you. We are also piloting local awarded verified credits in World History 2 this year at Liberty High School. Last year we did a pilot program at Forest Middle School for World History 1 with Miss Fairchild, and at State River High School with Miss Bayer for World History 1. And so we're taking the next step in that process and are trying it at an entire school, and we will keep you updated with how that goes this year. If you have any questions about alternative assessments, feel free to reach out. I want to remind you to join the Canvas Collaborative course. It is imperative that you do that. I do a lot of communications through that. There were some folks who had missed some communications, so please make sure you look at those, look at your global announcements. Try not to overwhelm you. I also share PD. I know that Ms. Weiss, professional learning that comes out, sometimes that can be overwhelming. So that what I share with you is specifically for social studies, kind of some special things. Also remember that the curriculum feedback form, so social studies, we will continue to be under the microscope, I'm sure, for a while. So if there is something that you would like to teach that is not currently part of our curriculum, then you should put that on our feedback form. So you can find the link on several places within our Canvas course, and you also can get that. I'm not sure if I have it on the instruction page, but our Canvas course has it on there. It also has the link to the list of all of our current resources. And your curriculum guides and pacing guides. So pacing guides, we pretty much use what we've done in the past. I did take into account suggestions that were submitted to me. A couple in some of the elementary schools, like specifically, I know people reached out and were like, at the beginning of the year, we're talking about flags and how our room works. And we're talking, why don't we do the things with symbols and stuff at the beginning? And I was like, that's a very good point. Why don't we? And so remember that your pacing guides are a suggestion, really, in many ways. This is what we would like you to accomplish within that 9 weeks. If you would choose to do it in a different order, then that is completely up to you. I remember when I taught World History 1 in 8th grade, I used to teach, Byzantine Empire followed by Islam immediately. And when I taught 9th grade, I used to always do the Asian empires before I did exploration. That wasn't the order of the SOLs, but that was the order that made sense to me. As long as you're accomplishing the content, that's kind of the important thing. So you do have the freedom to change the order of how you teach something. Just keep in mind that you may have an assessment that you have to give, so make sure you look at that assessment calendar to know that you've taught the content that would be reflected on that. I also wanted to mention that textbooks, because a couple people have asked me about that. So social studies is up for renewal for textbooks. We will start the process in the 2023-2024 school year. So that's the year we will start the process, and then they would be implemented the next year. And AP courses for social studies would be included in that. AP courses are now going to be matched with where they are in their normal sequencing. So like AP social studies courses would go with the social studies textbook renewal. I'm here if you need anything. I love to come out and support your classes. If you know in advance that you're going to be out and it's a really important content teaching day, reach out. Maybe I can come in and sub for class, especially anything that you're worried that you might be missing, like a rigor level that we really got to deliver that content. Call me in to help support you if you need an extra person when you're doing a neat project or you want to try something new. If you need brainstorming ideas, how do I do this? How do I come up with this? I'm happy to do any of that with you, and I love that. That's my favorite part of my job, is working on lessons and curriculum and what can I do to support you. I'm really excited about this year, and I look forward to seeing you, being in your classrooms more this year, and being out and about. And reach out if you need anything.
Hello, elementary science teachers. I wanted to provide just a few updates for you very quickly. We, of course, adopted new textbook resources for this year. I'm super excited about these. These are expected to be used for your curriculum. You may supplement with things that you have found to be tried and true hands-on activities or resources that you've used in the past, but these are expected to be used in all classrooms. You access ebooks. They have print copies and digital copies, and the ebooks are accessed through Clever for both the students and the teachers. And then I also wanted to let you know that in addition to the assessments that the company provides and all of the different methods they talked about in their training, I will also be adding 2nd through 5th grade chapter assessments into Mastery Connect as well. The things that you'll be receiving with your textbooks is a teacher edition, an assessments and reproducibles book, It's separate from the teacher edition, but it's also for you to use. There are class sets of student editions coming, and then we subscribe to 1 year of student workbooks. We just wanted to see how these kind of work out. And then if more need to be purchased in the following years, then we can do that. A great use for these would be your special education students, but I did want you to know that the student workbooks are exactly the same as what's provided in the Assessments and Reproducibles book that you have for your teacher use. Pacing guides. Some teams have worked to update pacing guides. Kindergarten through 3rd grade, we have combined science and social studies pacing guides for this coming school year. We know that a lot of you teach 2 weeks of science and then 2 weeks of social studies and move back and forth between units. So we wanted to kind of model that for you, and Miss DeLong-Moorefield and I worked together to divide up science and social studies topics so that you can move seamlessly through each 9-week with them. You'll notice that below each topic, you'll see a link to the curriculum guide for that as well. So please make sure that you visit those to see the depth of the topic that you need to be teaching. Those come straight from the curriculum frameworks from VDOE. Also, I wanted to let you know that the Science 5 Ponds Press alignments are also in those documents. It tells you which chapter goes with which SOL. 4th and 5th grade science, we have revamped pacing for specifically 5th grade and a little bit of tweaking with 4th grade with the 2018 standards. You also have curriculum guides linked for each individual topic with 5 Ponds Press alignments. Lastly, for 3rd grade science teachers, alternative assessments, we have edited these a little bit this year, hoping for ease of use for you. There are still 2 required assessments. You'll know that last year we narrowed that number down a little bit, but you are still required to give 2 assessments. But the 1 required assessment this year is a cross-curricular assessment with science and social studies. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and give 1 assessment, and it counts for 1 of your social studies assessments, 1 of your science assessments together. You'll grade them separately on a science and social studies rubric. And then you'll choose 1 other assessment out of a list of 3 others for science that is your choice to give additionally. As always, please reach out to me if you have any other questions. I look forward to seeing you in your buildings. Please also invite me if you're doing any cool experiments or hands-on activities, or if you just need an extra set of hands, I would love to come visit with you. Hey, middle and high school science teachers, I wanted to provide just a few quick updates for you. Hopefully you are very aware that we adopted new textbook resources this year. You can see them on your screen. I hope that you have attended the training for these. If you still have lingering questions, please reach out to me. And if I can't answer them, I can reach out to our representative from the companies. But I wanted to remind you that these are expected to be used for your curriculum that you're teaching for these courses. You may supplement with other activities that you have used in the past that you think are successful that are not included in these books, but we wanted you to know that this should be your main curriculum that you are using to teach your course. Also, with this, we have updated pacing guides through chemistry and physics that are aligned with the 2018 standards. The pacing that is provided should be followed as much as possible. You should at least keep up with what's expected to be taught within a quarter. Be sure that you're staying on pace with that because there will be some division assessments that are implemented for science this year. There are curriculum guides linked below each unit, and that will link you to curriculum framework that is pulled from the VDOE website, as well as correlation with your textbook resource that has been provided. As always, if you have questions, please reach out to me. I would love to come and help you with anything that you need in your classroom, and I'd love to come see some awesome lessons that you're doing that incorporate our new standards and new curriculum. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Good morning and welcome to the 2022-2023 school year. Excited. Loved working with you guys last year. Super excited that I am now over Title III as well. So we'll be bringing ESL in as well. And we also are getting a 4th ESL teacher this year, so that's super exciting as well. We will be using the Spanish pacing guides that we posted, and of course, any suggestions, changes that you want to make, we'll have a feedback form that will be on our collaborative Canvas page that you can use for doing that. And we'll start to look at French this way as well this year. Sadly, we're down to just Latin at Jefferson Forest High School. So if you guys know of any language teachers who want to get in on the ground floor, that would be great. We're looking to, I'm looking into a program to maybe expand doing something with American Sign Language as well. Otherwise, I don't have many updates for you guys. Just make sure that you fill out the form so I can get you in the right collaborative Canvas form. And my email and everything has remained the same. My new married name is Crystal DeLong-Moorefield, so I just have a hyphenated last name, but I decided to keep my email the same because otherwise it's the longest email ever. So I'm here for whatever you need, so please let me know how I can support you. I want to be out more visible in the classrooms this year, so you should be seeing me, and I'm just there to see what I can do to help you, and then just kind of to visit and see what's going on and just watch the wonderful learning that happens in action. So hoping that you have a great, fantastic year, and I will let you get on to all that wonderful planning and other things that you have to do for the coming week. Hey, fine arts folks. Excited to be working with you again this year. Had a fantastic time with art when we were doing our art shows, and the banners have been received so well. We'll be doing them earlier in the year this year, like we had done traditionally in the past. Our theme this year is going to be the Spirit of Bedford, and I'll have more details on that coming to you. And we'll go back to the more traditional Canvas ones that we had in the past. But I was super impressed. I was at the D-Day Memorial meeting about field trip, and one of the guys was like, who did he was telling me which one. He was like, I'll buy it right now. And when I was outside on Main Street, outside the admin building, people were just talking about how fantastic they are. So we want to continue to feature our students' work, so please share anything that you have with me. Pass it to me. I will get it, as much as I can on the county's Facebook page. I'll promote it on my Facebook page. If not, and of course, we'll add it to our newsletters and all those good things. In the land of art, we're also going to continue our art shows that we did last year. We already have the date set, so you'll be getting a LTP about that once school gets started. Don't want to overwhelm everybody with too much at the very beginning. Additionally, in music, we were all back to performances, which is super exciting. We don't have any restrictions this year. We're very excited about that. I'm working on a project for risers for our elementary schools. You've gotten emails about that, so make sure you let me know if that's something that you're interested in. And excitingly, in our middle and high school, we used ESSER funds in order to get new instruments. For many different reasons, it fell under that. So I'm looking into other grant opportunities. So if there's things that you want, you need to tell me. Now remember that the process always is that you go to your principal first and then talk to your principal about what you want. If they say they don't have the money, they can't do this, can't do whatever, then come to me. There are several area grants. If you're a member of the Bedford County Education Association, they give out 500 mini grants every year. They're given out around the beginning or middle of October. And then we have the Bedford Area Education Foundation. And they, the BAEF, they actually give out 4 grants throughout the year. They do them by the quarters. So their first one is due in September. I will actually put in our Canvas page, I'll put a little link to those kind of grants. And that's not something like Donors Choose where you're asking people for money. Instead, these are grants where you're asking what you need. Now, I've been told several times by those who run the Bedford Area Educational Foundation that they don't always get enough requests. So fill them out. It's $500. You could do one each quarter if there's extra things that you'd like to do, extra projects that you would like to do. And so this is a great way to get some of that. But again, start with your principal, ask them, talk to them about money, and go from there. And then come to me if they're not able to provide what you need. Come to me if you got any questions, comments, concerns. I'll even listen to the rude remarks. Sometimes you just need a voice. I want to be a safe space for you. So please know that is there. And I will be out in the schools. I did not get to come see everybody last year, and that is definitely my intention this year, is that at minimum to make it to everybody's classroom at least once. If there's a day where you're doing something really cool and you're like, like every once in a while, you get that like super cool activity, or you're trying something new, and maybe A, you'd like an extra body in the room because you're trying something new, or B, you're like, I just want somebody to see this. Like I feel like this is a good one. Invite me. I would love to come and see what is happening. I try to, your principals often will brag about you and the work that you do. I try to share that. Sometimes you don't get to hear that, but definitely the fine arts, you're well represented in our division, and I'm very thankful for you and all that you're doing for our students. So please reach out if you need anything, and I'm looking forward to an amazing year. And like I told you when I started this, I'm not going anywhere. I may have moved to Roanoke, but I am still a Bedford girl at heart, and I'm not going anywhere. I look forward to working with you for many years to come. So I'll let you get back to all the fun things that you need to do to be planning for this year, and we'll be seeing each other.